SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
DinnerBellCorinth.com has the best food in Corinth, Mississippi. Awarded Best Salad Bar, Best Steakhouse, Best Overall Restaurant, and Best Lunch and Dinner under $10. You can't beat it. For delicious food at affordable prices, order online. Visit DinnerBellCorinth.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning, and welcome in to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and on SuperTalk TV. We are on the road today, coming to you live from the Columbus Marina. We are, you can't see right now, but the sun's going to come up in just a little while. We're sitting on the edge of Lake Columbus inside the Marina store. So we got T-shirts, we got life jackets, there's some juice, there's some beer if you need that early in the morning, and then a few supplies as well. And the coffee is hot and ready to go, and we're glad to be with you on this Wednesday morning. Middle of the week. Today is the 25th of March, 2026. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Cross. Lance Tolbert is in the studio. Houston and Alex are with me. We can't do anything on the road without them making it happen. And glad to be with you this morning. Lance, good morning to you.
Good morning. That gift shop sounds like something I'd need one of each of them. Maybe
the T-shirt,
the
life jacket, and the Blue Moon.
Yes, yeah. Give me a 6er of the moon and a 4-pack of the T-shirts. I can probably run through them on a fishing day. And you're going to do a little fishing in the dark, it looks like, today. We're going to have to play that one. Yeah, that's nice.
Maybe we should write a song about that.
I think that was going to get played.
Fishing in the dark, there's a chance on that this morning. It's going to be a gorgeous day. And the reason that we are here is there is a Bass Masters Elite Fishing Tournament that is happening here. That is Major League Baseball, that is the PGA Tour, that is the NFL, that is the NBA of fishing. And some of the greatest fishermen that live in the United States, I guess in the world, are going to be here in Columbus this weekend. I was talking with Steve here in the store just a moment ago, and I was curious. So the fishing is going to happen on the Tenn-Tom Waterway. We're going to learn a little bit more. Some of you are going to say, hey, Richard, I don't need a tutorial on how the Tenn-Tom Waterway works. That's fine. Others of you, I think, will be interested in learning about the lock system and how all of that works up and down the Tenn-Tom here in the eastern part of the state of Mississippi. I was told, and look, one of the things that's really cool about a Bass Masters event, if you've never been around these, the boats are incredible. And they can fly 60, sometimes 70 miles an hour, scooting up and down the open water. And there's about a 300-mile stretch of the river that they are going to be able to fish. Got to go where the fish are, and in a lot of cases they want to get away from the other fishermen so that they get to that honey hole and nobody else does. We'll see how it works out over the course of the next couple of days. Tournament actually gets started tomorrow. As I said, gorgeous here in Columbus today. Expecting a high of about 75 degrees. Actually, 81 is going to be the high today in Columbus with a low in the 60s. And it's going to cool off over the weekend. We'll see how that affects the fishing conditions. Oxford, high of 82 today, partly to mostly cloudy. Winds light and breezy out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Madison, right there in the central part of the state of Mississippi, you've got a high of 85 today, except for a few afternoon clouds. It's going to be mostly sunny. So a good day for fishing, maybe a good day to be on the golf course if that is your thing. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Bay St. Louis, let's go all the way to the coast. High of 75 today with intervals of clouds and sunshine. Winds out of the east and southeast. A little breezier there at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Today, again, the 25th of March. Who was born on this day? Some historically interesting names here. Catherine of Siena. She was born in 1347. The Italian mystic, philosopher, and theologian. A doctor of the church and a key figure in persuading the papacy to return to Rome. Didn't live very long, from 1347 until 1380. Do all of those go together? A mystic, a philosopher, and a theologian? Was she like the original Miss Cleo? Or, I don't know. I don't know if there was palm reading in 1347 or not.
You need
John
alchemy
Barry,
mixed in there, yeah.
Say,
You need some alchemy mixed in there.
Check out these potions I have for you to see. John Barry was born in 1745, the Irish-American naval officer known as the father of the American Navy. That was for what he did during his time in the Revolutionary War. Gutzon Borglum. What a name. Sculptor who designed and oversaw the creation of Mount Rushmore. You ever seen Mount Rushmore?
I haven't been there in person, no. I would love to. That's one of those on the list, though.
Yeah.
Take a motorcycle all the way to it,
Oh, so you want to do you're just going to make a loop up to Sturgis while you're in the area?
Definitely. Rent a Harley, almost wreck it a few times and then pull it off. Be an adventurous trip. But no, that's always been one of the ones I just got to see.
Yeah. I never have either. And I don't know that it's that high on my list, but I feel like it's one of those things that if you saw it in person, maybe pictures wouldn't do justice. Arturo Toscanini was born on this day in 1867. I know one of your favorites, Lance, the legendary Italian conductor celebrated for his work at La Scala, the Metropolitan Opera, and later with the NBC Symphony Orchestra.
That's big time there.
Yeah, I suppose. Norman Borlaug, an American agronomist and Nobel Peace Prize winner, was born on this day in 1914. He is considered to be kind of the father of the Green Revolution, credited with saving 1 billion lives from famine. This guy is interesting. Born in 1928, a NASA astronaut, Jim Lovell, commander of the ill-fated Apollo 13 movie. He was later portrayed in the film Apollo 13. Gloria Steinem, born on this day, the American feminist activist, writer, and co-founder of Ms. Magazine. That's M.S.
Not Mississippi, yeah.
No, not Mississippi Magazine. Great magazine, not the same thing. How about a couple of a little more common mainstream names for you? Aretha Franklin, the American singer, songwriter, and pianist, universally known as the Queen of Soul. You better put a little R-E-S-P-E-C-T on her name. The great Aretha Franklin passed away in 2018. Elton John, born in 1947. Favorite Elton John song?
The Friday Night's the Night for Fighting, because, it just seems so appropriate that he's singing that.
You think he's been in many fights?
Cat fight, maybe. I don't know. But no, I like Elton. He's great. But that's probably my favorite one because he just, he kind of rocks it out.
Yeah, he really does. This is a Country Music Wednesday, and I know we don't stray very far from that. Mm-hmm. We're kind of locked in on Wednesdays. You mentioned Fishing in the Dark a second. Yeah, we'll get a little nitty-gritty dirt band for you, but we might have to drop a little Sister Aretha in there.
I'm always for that. That Think, R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Yeah.
You got it, buddy. Natural Woman, I'm in.
And, Elton John requests, the Little Rocket Man,
We'll do some Rocket Man, just for the guys that are hitting the boats today, hitting, about 60, 65 miles an hour.
Feeling like they're shot out of the gates with rockets.
That's right.
And finally, Sarah Jessica Parker, the American actress and producer. That would be Carrie Bradshaw from Sex in the City. What happened on this day in history? In 421, the city of Venice is traditionally founded with the dedication of the first church, San Giacomo di Rialto, on the islet of Rialta. The legendary date marks the beginning of one of history's most influential maritime republics. I'm wondering if Venice is kind of like Samuel Clements. Rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. How long have we been hearing that Venice is just going to fall into the canals and never going to exist again, and yet it just keeps on plugging? Beautiful city, especially when the water's clean. You know how we'll have lakes in Mississippi that turn? You've heard that phrase before, yeah. Like you look out there and it's muddy, and a week later you're like, man, the water looks really, really good. I wonder if the water does that in Venice. Like, are there some days where it turns and it's better than others?
Hopefully it's not very sewagey on certain times, too.
Yes. Florence Cathedral, featuring Filippo Brunelleschi's Brunelleschi, the Revolutionary Dome. We're talking about the Duomo in Florence, one of the beautiful sights on the skyline of that incredible city. Just getting started with you. It is Wednesday morning, the 25th of March. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. We're on the road today at the Columbus Marina. SuperTalk going to be here all day long. We're back with you right after this. Just getting started. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. We're back on MRC after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center.
Breaking news to bold opinions. Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I'm gonna take you to a special place that nobody knows. Baby, get ready.
Good morning to you. Mornings with Richard Cross on the road today. We are coming to you live from the Columbus Marina site, kind of a home base. They've already got the stage and the weigh-in area set up for this weekend's Bassmasters Elite Tournament that is here in Mississippi on the Tenn-Tom. I guess they were actually probably not like 6 a.m. in the morning fishing in the dark. It was probably, 10 or 11 or midnight, but we'll make it work with you as it's still dark beyond us. Just behind us, though, Columbus Lake spilling directly into the Tenn-Tom Waterway. Glad to be with you. On this day in 1655, Dutch astronomer Christian Huygens discovers Titan, the largest moon of Saturn and one of the most significant early advances in planetary observation. What do you think Huygens' telescope looked like?
That's a good question. Probably big.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. But when those guys always out looking and they would find a big planet and it's round and they see it in their telescope, and you still have these people here on Earth going, yeah, Earth's flat, though. It's like every planet out there.
Well, I mean, just because you're sitting on a flat spot doesn't mean that.
To me, it always blows my mind. Everything circles, and you still have people out there at that time like, no, the Earth is flat, man.
1807, the British Parliament passed the Slave Trade Act, abolishing the transatlantic slave trade across the British Empire and marking a major victory in the abolitionist movement. 1911, tragedy in New York City. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire killed 146 garment workers, mostly young immigrant women. The disaster shocked the public and led to sweeping reforms in labor laws, fire safety, and workplace regulations in the United States. 1965, civil rights marchers led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. completed the march from Selma to Montgomery, arriving at the Alabama State Capitol with approximately 25,000 participants. It was the event that helped galvanize support for the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And finally, 1975, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia assassinated in Riyadh by his nephew. The killing sent shockwaves through the Middle East and led to a rapid succession within the Saudi royal family. I guess that's one way to accede to the throne.
Kind of ruthless, you know?
Yeah. Which would not be the first time that we've seen something ruthless happen within the Saudi Arabia royal family. A lot of ruthlessness, but the ones that are most ruthless seem to have ended up on the top.
Yeah, that's the game, I think.
That is the game. News headlines this morning. One of Canada's most wanted criminals has been arrested in Mississippi. U.S. Attorney Scott Leary announced that Adrian Walker, a Canadian national, was captured by federal and state law enforcement officials in Tupelo earlier this week. Walker was wanted by the Toronto Police Services on a Canada-wide arrest warrant for first-degree murder and attempted murder. This was following a violent shooting that occurred back in May of 2024. For that offense, he has been named as a most wanted person by the Toronto Police Services. U.S. Marshals and the Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force, the Department of Homeland Security Investigations, it's HSI, they're still being funded, and ATF all learned that Walker was using a fake name and hiding from Canadian law enforcement in Tupelo. He had illegally entered the United States, was never inspected by immigration officials. They later obtained a warrant for his arrest. He's been charged in the Northern District of Mississippi. And I guess we're going to see extradition. So, yeah, he is going to be deported back to Canada and will face the judicial system there regarding his charges. Although the victims in that case might prefer that he be tried in Mississippi than in Canada, but I'm just speculating there. We didn't get to this yesterday. There was a ton going on that kind of dominated the conversation. Reminder that if you want to be part of the conversation, you can join us on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. This tax season, let your refund go farther. C Spire's got great deals for you, including new devices, the iPhone or the Samsung Galaxy, plus a tablet and a watch and 100 gigs of data for just $100. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. The Trump administration is working on finding a new head of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. There appears to be a short list. Donald Trump didn't tell us this himself, but reports in the Washington Post indicate that there are 3 names that are the most likely finalists for that position as the new CDC. One of them, Dr. Dan the Medicine Man, Dr. Dan Edney, who is the chief medical officer for the state of Mississippi. And he's one of the 3 names that's being floated around by the administration officials as the new head of the CDC, along with former Kentucky Governor Ernie Fletcher and a cardiologist at Johns Hopkins University, Joseph Marine. The publication noted that the eventual nominee for the CDC head may not be one of those 3 finalists, as there are about half a dozen individuals that are being considered. Edney, Fletcher, and Marine, though, are being considered to lead the nation's preeminent public health agency, according to administration officials and others familiar with the discussions. The research for a CDC director is not over, and President Trump's eventual pick may be someone different. The reason that this is timely, or time is of the essence, is there's currently an interim director of the CDC, and there is a time limit on how long an interim director can serve in that role. It is possible that the president will name another interim director so that they can kick the can down the road and restart the clock. But it sounds like Dr. Dan Edney is a very potential, possible, maybe even likely candidate for the arguably the highest medical post in the United States. So congratulations to him. Feels like that would be a pretty significant loss for the state of Mississippi. One of the ways that you kind of look at grades and whatever, and we know that lots of times Mississippi is at the bottom of the bad lists and the top of the bad lists and the bottom of the good lists. Health outcomes, one of those categories. Mississippi traditionally has been dead last in health outcomes. Risen a couple of spots up to 48th, and while that may not feel like massive improvement, it is incremental. And a lot of that is because of the work of Dr. Dan Edney. So we'll keep an eye on that. Oh, it's been a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks since we've mentioned the ABC. We got a little bit of news. Doesn't really have anything to fixing the distribution issue, but rather the sale of the current warehouse where so many of the problems are occurring. A bill in the legislature is moving forward on the sale of the state's old ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Control Warehouse, in Gluckstadt, headed to Legislative Conference Committee this weekend. The current building is a 211,000 square foot warehouse in Madison. Could be sold once the governor signs off on the bill. Senator Bart Williams, leading the charge on this, does not foresee issues during the process and conference this weekend. The warehouse was built in 1983. It is being replaced, eventually, by a new $95 million state-of-the-art, state bond-funded 400,000 square foot facility that is located in Canton. One of the interested parties, apparently, is the Madison County Economic Development Authority. Not only do they see that as an important piece in their economic development strategy, but apparently already have a tenant in mind. So we'll see how that goes. They do say that this sale will be above board. The building cannot be occupied until the new building is occupied and running successfully, which would be a welcome change for the ABC warehouse because clearly it is not running successfully right now. One other note from the legislature, lawmakers are sending the SHIELD Act to the governor. We've heard a lot about the Save America Act, which would include a piece that would verify citizenship. You would be required to prove citizenship when registering to vote. A bill aimed at verifying the citizenship of persons registering to vote in Mississippi has already been sent to Governor Tate Reeves' desk. Senator Jeremy England, the author of the original bill, made the motion to concur with the changes made in the House of Representatives. It's Senate Bill 2588, the Safeguard Honesty, Integrity in Elections for Lasting Democracy Act. Thank goodness that has an acronym. The House's change will force the use of the Systematic Alien and Verification Entitlements Database to ensure U.S. citizenship when someone is registering to vote in Mississippi. Those are just some of your news headlines on this Wednesday morning. Glad to be with you, coming to you live from Columbus. We're hanging out on the couch this morning. Not a bad spot. Thanks for joining us. More coming up with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From this
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back. Holy smokes. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, let's go way on the way back when. I didn't even know you.
I mean, you're just delivering, Lance. Just delivering.
I love her too, man. She's one of my faves.
The best. Good to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. On the road, we are in Columbus. Thanks for joining us. The Bassmasters Elite Series fishing tournament, or one of their fishing tournaments, here in Mississippi this weekend, happening right here on the Tenn-Tom, and look forward to telling you more about that as we go through the morning today. Thanks for joining us, and the C Spire text line open to you at 601-879-4395. I tasked Lance a little while ago with monitoring the text line this morning. I'm limited on my resources as we sit here. So he is the filter through which you will communicate with us this morning. Love to hear from you. It's time for your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. Well, you want to talk about a good time to be outside. How about be outside at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, the 18-hole two 18-hole championship golf courses, the Oaks and the Azaleas. The Azaleas, they are blooming. Absolutely gorgeous this time of year. You can book your tee time online at DancingRabbitGolf.com. That's DancingRabbitGolf.com. Dancing Rabbit is part of Pearl River Resort. Highly anticipated matchup last night in Starkville at Dudy Noble. It was round 2 between Mississippi State and Southern Miss. Round 1 was at Pete Taylor Park in Hattiesburg. Really good ball game. 7-6 was the final. Southern Miss got the win. And I don't know if you go revenge game when you're talking about midweek baseball or not. Mississippi State may have approached it that way. I think their fans did. Nearly 13,000 for a Tuesday night game last night at Dudy Noble. I was listening to some of the broadcast with Neil Price and Ron Polk.
Folks, bear with us just a sec. We had an audio drop. Richard will be back. I know if you're watching on the app, you will see him, but you aren't hearing him yet.
At that point of the game, Lance, they had scored more runs than any opponent had in any entire game this season against Southern Miss pitching.
Man.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive night last night for Mississippi State.
They're kind of showing out right now, the crowds and the scores and everything. That was an impressive outing.
It really, really was. So, revenge game part 2, I suppose, earlier this month even. Ole Miss hosted Memphis, and the Rebels got a 7-1 victory. Just kind of cruised to the win in the first meeting at Swayze Field in Oxford. Last night, it was a return trip for the second game in the series. Ole Miss at Memphis on their campus, and the Rebels had trouble getting going offensively. 1-0 was the early lead for Ole Miss after 3 innings. In fact, going into the bottom of the 4th inning, that's when Memphis got on the board, scored a couple of runs in the 4th. They added 2 more in the 5th and 2 in the 8th. Ole Miss made a little bit of noise in the top of the 9th inning, but couldn't get anything across the board, and it was Memphis who came into the game 6-16 on the year, getting the win. 6-2 was the final. 6 runs, 9 hits for Memphis. Ole Miss 2 runs on just 4 hits in the ball game. Of course, that's on the heels of scoring 12 runs against Kentucky in the finale of last weekend's SEC series. So Ole Miss falls to 17-6,
I believe,
on the year. And Owen Kelly took the loss, pitched well early for Ole Miss. Jacob Denis got the win for Memphis. So that sets the stage for a Magnolia State rivalry weekend. Mississippi State red hot coming into Oxford this weekend after sweeping Vanderbilt in Starkville and getting the midweek win against Southern Miss. Ole Miss won their series against Kentucky last win. First significant midweek loss for Ole Miss. Lost to Southern Miss earlier in the year in the midweek. That's obviously a really good baseball team. But not getting it done last night on the road against the Memphis Tigers. North Carolina has officially fired their head basketball coach, Hubert Davis. It's been talked about for a while. He was in his 5th year, had early success coaching at his alma mater, but not enough success late, including being embarrassed by VCU in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It felt at points this year like things were moving in the right direction for a guy that came into the season on the hot seat. They had a big win against Duke back in late February. That calmed people down a little bit. and pretty significant injury with Caleb Wilson. He took a season-ending injury, but there was concern about how much money North Carolina was going to be able to raise, with some apathy setting in among their fans for the roster next year, and ultimately decided to make the change. So 5 years for Hubert Davis, a national championship game appearance in 2022, an ACC regular season championship in 2024. Thanks for your service. Goodbye. We'll probably pay you something on the way out. And the question turns to who will be next at North Carolina. Obviously, we don't know the answer to that question. The list of names that ESPN is floating around, pretty significant, and includes former two-time national champion head coach of the Florida Gators and current Chicago Bulls head coach Billy Donovan. Hasn't coached in college basketball in 11 years. Former Butler president of operations with the Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens, name on the list. And then you get into some of the college coaches right now that are in the game, including names like Tommy Lloyd from Arizona, Dusty May from Michigan, TJ Otzelberger at Iowa State, Todd Golden at Florida, Nate Oates at Alabama, and perhaps Grant McCasland at Texas Tech. Who knows? Maybe it won't even be any of those names. That is a who's who, though, of basketball coaches in terms of names, and clearly North Carolina shooting high when they go into this search. It has snuck up on us. Today is Major League Baseball's opening day. Did you know that, Lance?
No, I did not actually.
April 1st is usually kind of the time, end of March, beginning of April, so we're about a week early.
That's what I thought, yeah. I was like, this sounds early.
Yeah, but it's not the pomp and circumstance of a dozen teams or a dozen games that are happening all across. There was a time where Major League Baseball began when the Cincinnati Reds threw the first pitch of the season at home. That tradition has gone away. We've seen opening day happen in foreign countries, which feels very not hot dogs, baseball, apple pie, and built Ford Tough. It doesn't feel very American when we start Major League Baseball in a foreign country. It has happened. Although they're kind of in a foreign country tonight. San Francisco. The New York Yankees at the San Francisco Giants to start Major League Baseball today. And if you want to watch it, where are you going to go? Well, Netflix, of course.
Wow.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Giants hosting the Yankees for opening night on Netflix. A bigger slate of games tomorrow, and what I suppose will be day 2 of the season. Pirates at Mets, White Sox at Brewers, Nationals at the Cubs, Twins at the Orioles. Hey, they're the Reds with a 3:10 Central Time first pitch hosting the Boston Red Sox. Angels and Astros, Tigers, Padres, et cetera, et cetera.
I thought you were going to say that the first game was going to be like on Bravo, since it was in San Francisco.
Yeah, well,
my bad.
Wonder if Gavin Newsom will be there tonight.
Yeah, at least his avatar. Yeah,
possibly. That is your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. We'll give you a check of the lottery, and guests going to begin. Got a bunch of them coming up this morning with you. Frances Glenn will join us. She is the tourism director for Columbus-Lowndes Convention and Visitors Bureau. Nora Miller, the president of the W, will stop by. We'll visit with Betsy Young. She is director of development with the Tenn-Tom Waterway Authority. They are at least largely responsible for Bassmasters coming to Mississippi. Quick time out. We'll wrap up the 6 o'clock hour with you next with a look at the lottery and a conversation with our first guest of the morning, Frances Glenn. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, I love her, but I love to fish. I spend all day out on this lake.
Good to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. It's time, as always, for your Mississippi Lottery update. Find them online at mslottery.com. No jackpot winner on Mega Millions. Next jackpot drawing coming up on Friday, $70 million. The estimated cash value, $31.5 million. And Powerball, let's see, no jackpot winner. Tonight's drawing, $66.6 million, the estimated cash value on a $147 million jackpot. Be sure to grab the Mississippi Lottery app or check them out online at mslottery.com. Frances Glenn joins me this morning, our very first guest. Thanks for getting up early.
Absolutely.
She is Tourism Director for Columbus-Lowndes County Convention and Visitors Bureau. This weekend, the Bass Masters Elite Series Fishing Tournament on the Tenn-Tom Waterway. I said to you just a second ago, pretty big deal.
It's a big deal, and it's getting bigger the closer it gets.
It's, I think we're over 100 boats now, professional anglers that are going to be here. How did this happen? How did this come about?
Well, last year we hosted the Bassmaster Open, and they reached out to us about the Open. And while they were here, they were like, this would be a perfect spot for an elite. Well, I said, sure, it would be, not knowing exactly what it was. Yeah. But it's like the Super Bowl of fishing, the PGA Tour of golf. So we're super excited to have them. And they kind of saw the lay of the land. They think it's a unique fishery. And so we started working on bringing it to Columbus and the Tenn-Tom.
So in the Bassmaster Series, they've got all kinds of fishing environments. There's big lakes, there's smaller lakes. I would think that a 300-mile stretch of river is about as unique as it comes in terms of the anglers trying to decide where they want to fish and what the right spot is.
Well, I think it gives them a lot of choices. They've got to make some decisions, deep or the shallow, or go in different spots. They can lock up and down, so they've got a nice stretch to fish. And it's just they're out there practicing now, and I guess they'll hone in on what their plan is.
I think a lot of Mississippians are around water, but from a recreational standpoint, it's usually lakes that we're talking about. What about recreational uses for the Tenn-Tom? Because I know there are tons of people that have river houses, or, right. This is kind of their lake. What is it like here?
Well, it's the Tenn-Tom Waterway, of course, is commercial.
Right.
There's a lot of commercial barges going up and down. That's another challenge. But recreation, it's localized, different places, but fishing, skiing, just getting out on the boats.
And we've got Columbus Lake directly behind us here, a beautiful morning and a beautiful sight. It looks like the weather could not be any better. It may cool off a little bit as we get toward the weekend, but just
that's
gonna be
okay
great.
With the anglers.
Yeah, they like that.
Yeah, and we hadn't had rain, so I think the water settled some. It's certainly not clear, but it's good conditions for fishing.
Tourism directors and economic developers tend to work hand in hand. Obviously, as you spend money to bring people to your area, you're trying to attract people. You're thinking about economic development and economic impact more than anything. What right. kind of an economic impact for Columbus-Lowndes County does an event like this have?
Well, according to Bassmaster, so
okay.
It could be up to $1 million economic impact, somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million. The anglers have come; they've pre-fished, back in the fall, January, right. February. Then they close the water. You can't fish for 30 days prior to. So we've seen boats, coming in last week, getting ready for the practice days this week. So I think, and then of course this is a spectator sport. So there are a lot of people that are coming to watch, to see the anglers, to follow, that kind of thing.
And there's a challenge in it being a spectator sport when we talked about just a second ago, because you've got a 300-mile stretch of river, give right. or take, that these fishermen get. So from a spectator standpoint, it's the boat launch, it's when they're coming in the afternoons, and the weigh-in and all of those things, right?
Right. So they'll be able, we'll have the weigh-ins, the launches are at 7 a.m. right here at Columbus Marina. And that's really fun to watch, especially, when you've got 101 boats out on the lake getting ready to go. That's really neat.
Well, what is that going to look like? Because people that have been around, marinas or whatever, you got the no wake zone. You can't just go pedal to the metal right out of the gate. So do they just kind of line up out in the middle of the lake and everybody takes off at once?
They line up more away from the marina, and then they circle in. It's almost like NASCAR. They come through. They have a quick checklist. But, they're boat driving experts. Like, nobody's out there just, So they line up, get going, and then, of course, the weigh-ins are every afternoon, Thursday through Sunday at 3 p.m.
And that's going to be a lot of fun. People that want to come out and be part of this, what do they need to know?
It's free, complimentary. We'll have the expo, Saturday and Sunday, kids events, live music, food vendors. So come out anytime and watch. It's
going to be a big party at Columbus Marina this weekend. Come check it out, the Bassmasters Elite Series right here in Mississippi on the Tenn-Tom. Frances, thanks for coming by. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Just getting started with you on this Monday. Not Monday. I've done that twice this week, Lance. Wednesday. We've made it all the way to the middle of the week. Quick timeout. News is coming up next. Then we'll roll into the 7 o'clock hour with you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
And now, Mornings with Richard Cross.
What's up? Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
I went down to the river to watch the fish swim by. But I got to the river so lonesome I wanted to die, oh Lord. And then I jumped in the river, but the doggone river was dry.
Sometimes you're embarrassed when your voice cracks, but when he cracks right there, it's like you would miss it, right? I mean, if and a little yodeling mixed in as well. Great to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We are on the road in Columbus, Mississippi, coming to you live from the Columbus Marina. This is the hub, the home base for anglers and elite fishing in the state of Mississippi this weekend. Today is the official practice day for those who are participating, the 101 boats, the professional anglers who are participating in the Bassmasters Elite Series that is happening right here in Mississippi. Only the second location, I think that's right, second location and the second Bassmasters Elite event that has happened. Now, here in Columbus, they had a Bassmasters Open event a year ago, and that kind of paved the way, opened the door for the Elite Series event that is happening this year. It's the greatest anglers in the United States all coming together. This is professional fishing at its best, and it may be a little bit different type of fishing just because of the fish that are available in this stretch of the Tenn-Tom Waterway that they're going to be fishing. About 300 miles north to south that they have opportunity to use. And, yes, they can use the lock system going up and down the river, which is really the only way that you get up and down the river. For this tournament. Frances and I were talking during the break, and she said one of the things that they looked at, this may be a very, very close weigh-in when we get to Sunday and the final day of the tournament, because with the fish that primarily they will catch this weekend, you're talking 2, 3, maybe 4-pound bass, where a lot of times you have those 6, 7, 8 pound. What are we, lunkers? Is that what we call them, Lance? The those big boys that you see that they pull out of the water sometimes. 2, 3 pound bass is a nice fish, though, and that's a fun fish to catch, no doubt. So that's where we are today, Columbus Marina in Columbus, Mississippi, and we're glad to be with you. We remind you that the C Spire text line is always open at 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire. Find them online, cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Show's brought to you every day, presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. So we talked yesterday a lot about the veto from Governor Tate Reeves of the loan assistance program for counties and cities in Mississippi. And that story continued to develop throughout the course of the day yesterday. If you missed this, I was trying to, we were at dinner last night and I was trying to explain this, and you hear about an elevator pitch, Lance. How do you explain your idea in 20 seconds or 30 seconds, the ride from the first floor to the third floor on the elevator? I don't know that there is a super concise way to do this. The high level overview is the legislature worked for 6 weeks to put in a low interest loan program for the Mississippi communities that were affected by Winter Storm Fern, which we know was an ice storm that left an absolute path of destruction in its wake. All the tree limbs that were down, tree limbs that ended up on cars and houses and businesses, power outages that lasted from a couple of days to a few weeks for people, water issues in a lot of places, our electric utilities working round the clock to get everybody back online with electricity, to make sure that all the needs were met, outside agencies coming in to help with recovery efforts. Those are ongoing in some places in North Mississippi. And there's a lot of cost associated with that. And there's going to be a lot of FEMA money, federal assistance money, that comes in. But that's not always the fastest process, and not every expense that cities and counties incur is going to be covered by FEMA. And so there was a loan program that the legislature put together where basically the state of Mississippi is the bank. It's a 0% short-term loan, and then on any carryover expenses, remaining expenses that are not covered by FEMA that have got to be paid and you want to put on a payment schedule, it was, in the mind of the legislature, a low-cost, low-interest loan about 1%. Well, in negotiations with the governor, we read in the veto of this bill that was passed unanimously by the House and the Senate after conference that the governor started out at 2% and came down to 1%. Reasonable compromise there. And then we find out that what the governor and his staff have actually negotiated was a 1% a month interest rate, which is effectively a 12% rate. And then when you think about the fact that they started at 2%, you're talking about an effective 24% interest rate, which in a lot of cases is higher than the interest rate that you have on credit cards. It's the kind of interest rate that you get when you go to one of these not so scrupulous loan places. I'm not saying that they're all bad, but you understand that's where predatory lending, the conversation comes in. High interest, short-term loans. I mean, that's what they do. And you're looking at this going, why is the state of Mississippi doing that? Well, then the story advances beyond that there was some miscommunication or misunderstanding, or as in the governor's veto memo, it said nefarious, unconscionable, potentially criminal activity, perhaps coming from the clerk of the Senate, when the language was changed in the bill to strike the word monthly so that it was a 1% loan interest rate, not a 1% monthly loan interest rate. I actually don't think there's anything nefarious here. I think legislators were operating with common sense and maybe even a misunderstanding of the negotiation process. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I would have assumed the same thing that our legislators assumed, We're talking about a low-interest loan. We're talking about helping our communities. Of course, we always meant a 1% interest rate. On no planet would we ever have agreed to a 1% a month or a 12% interest rate on loans to our very own people. So, when reached yesterday by the SuperTalk Mississippi news team, Corey Custer, the chief of staff for the governor, said, as he told the speaker and the president of the Senate yesterday, that's Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, and when I say he, I'm talking about the governor, if the legislature will clean up the mistakes on the bill and send it back over, he will sign the bill as written. That's a problem. Signing the bill as written is a problem, and you are taking advantage. And for what reason, I do not understand. That's where I don't have a clear answer. And if the governor's staff or the governor himself wants to explain this to me, I am all ears, and certainly they have an open invitation to talk about this. Why would the state of Mississippi take advantage of its cities and its counties, in effect kicking them while they are down? I talked with leaders in one particular community to tell you how outlandish this is, the idea of a 12% or 1% a month. Effectively, it's actually more like almost 13% and not 12% because of the way that compound interest works. But we'll just call it, for ease of conversation, a 12% loan. To tell you how out of whack this is, I talked with community leaders in one area that was affected. Actually, I didn't talk with community leaders. I talked with some other people that were part of the process. I think I can actually be more specific than this. I know that in Oxford, the city of Oxford has received bids from multiple banks who want to make them a loan in the aftermath of this. And they have been quoted interest rates below 5%. Which is a really solid loan rate, especially in the current environment that we're in. So you have local banks who are operating as businesses, and even when they're doing good, they need to make a profit, willing to loan tens of millions of dollars at an interest rate below 5%. But with the state of Mississippi, with $2 billion sitting in the bank, has an opportunity to help its communities, it's going to charge a 12% rate? This has to get fixed.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
How high's the water, Mama? I met her accidentally in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Pleasure to be with you on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we come to you from the Columbus Marina on Columbus Lake, which dumps into the Tenn-Tom Waterway, which is host to this weekend's Bassmasters Elite Series fishing tournament. Anglers from all over the country descending on Mississippi to try and win a prize, a big prize for the winner this weekend. Visiting with a lot of folks in this part of the state this morning, including the president of the Mississippi University for Women, that is Nora Miller. And President Miller, good morning to you. I'm a little disappointed, well, for two reasons. One, that you're not sitting right next to me, but that's okay. We'll let that go. But the last time we visited, there was an opportunity for you to break news, but you waited for a press release after the fact to tell us that you were retiring, that the end of the line was coming up for you in your academic career. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard. It is a beautiful morning here in Columbus, and I apologize I didn't give you the scoop on that, but I wanted to tell my folks on campus first.
I understand. That is completely understandable. So let me ask you about that, the decision to step down. I know that's never easy. Did it just feel like this was the right time for you and for your family?
It did. I'm getting to that age where certain opportunities are available to me, and it seems like a good time to leave the W. We're on a healthy upswing. We've got a lot of good things happening on campus. We've got some momentum built up. We've got some strong leadership on campus, and I felt like this was a time for somebody else to come in and energize things.
Talk to me about this spring semester. It's amazing how quickly the final half of the school year goes. I know a beehive of activity on campus as well. What are things looking like this spring?
Things are looking great. Students got back from spring break, and you're saying that it's a beehive of activity, and it really is a beehive. This weekend, we will be hosting the Mississippi statewide spelling bee on our campus Saturday morning. So we've got activities, not only with college students, but we've had lots of visitors. We had a preview day last weekend, and we'll be hosting all these smart little spellers this weekend.
That is fantastic. I would love to take credit and know that was the segue that we were going with. I just complete blind luck on that. Altogether. Nora, we've talked in the past about some of the programs that have gained acclaim that the W is thriving in. None maybe more so than the nursing program. Is that fair to say?
Definitely, that is our crown jewel. We have the best nursing program in the state, one of the top 4% of nursing programs in the country. So I'm very proud of that, and over 80% of our nursing graduates stay here in the state of Mississippi. So we feel like we are doing our part for workforce and the health of our state, and looking forward to opportunities to help out with rural health because we know how important that is. Other programs that we have. Our culinary arts program is very unique. We've got a gorgeous building, just a couple years old for that. I'm also very proud of our liberal arts, our business programs, our mock trial team. We've got a lot to offer, and it's a wonderful institution with a small school environment where you really get to know your faculty and get to know each other, and really our students had the chance to lead in a variety of ways. So I'm very proud of our institution and all of our programs that we have. Last night we had a music recital program, and this is the time of the year where all the performances, all the research presentations from now until the end of April. It's going to be a busy time on campus, and it's great.
Yeah. If we can go back to the nursing program just for a second, I'm curious how that happened. You know, how did you grow it to the point where you mentioned that, you know, top 4% nationally, graduating a lot of students. Those students are staying in Mississippi. When you get outcomes like that, they don't just happen one day. There's a plan. There is a process to grow it and get it to the point. What was that process for the W?
I think it's just a real fascination with the program, a real devotion to our students, our nursing faculty. Every year we hear stories of students who are struggling with life circumstances and wondering if they're going to be able to make it. And the faculty just really pull our students through and really challenge them. And you can see the difference when you are getting health care from a W nurse. It shows that dedication, the drive, just a sense of responsibility and the love for the profession. It's something you can't really put your finger on it, but it's definitely something special. And we are able to offer programs all the way from the associate's program in nursing all the way through a doctorate of nursing practice. So we often grow our own students. They may come to us to get an associate's degree, then come back to get their RN to BSN, and then on to their master's to become a family nurse practitioner, and then they may come right back for a doctorate of nursing practice. So they're very, very bought into our programs and to our faculty, and it's really an act of love by our faculty.
I'm curious from your perspective, there has been an emerging conversation in the legislature this year and among some state leaders about the way funding happens from IHL and some conversation about performance-based funding. You are graduating your students. You are moving them through the process. What is your perspective when you look at the way funding happens right now from the IHL and a thought to move to more of a performance-based funding model, which a lot of the surrounding states, states that are around Mississippi have done and seem to have done fairly successfully?
We look forward to performance funding because we perform very well. And under the models that have been shown, of course, it hasn't been finalized, but in each of the models, there were 4 different ones that were shown. And if the legislature funds the IHL request, the W stands to do very well under all 4 of those. We graduate students. We are known for our social mobility of our students. We have a high percentage of our students who are, Pell eligible, who are adult learners. And all of these models reward those things and reward the retention of students in state. Our Pell Grant recipients out-earn Pell Grant recipients from all other 7 institutions in the state of Mississippi. So when you're looking at student outcomes and graduate outcomes, we're great. So I look forward to that, and I just hope that the legislature is able to fund us at the point where we can be rewarded for our performance.
Well, maybe this time if we go through this process and the IHL adopts a funding formula that's performance-based, they'll actually use it as opposed to just letting it sit on the shelf for a dozen years.
Well, the problem with that is it needs to be funded appropriately in order for them to really be able to use that funding formula. So we're reliant upon good funding from the legislature and, the state's economy being able to afford that.
Yeah, and I suppose that makes sense. Visiting with Dr. Nora Miller, she's president at the Mississippi University for Women. What is your time horizon? I know I've read the press release and read the story about that. Is it this summer when your time winds down?
Right. June 30th will be my retirement. So I am favoring every last concert, every last lecture, everything that's going on campus, and really holding those times as special.
Is there a to-do list for you, anything remaining that you want to try to accomplish in these last few months before your tenure comes to an end?
Well, I'd like to see us work through this funding formula and being able to build a budget that will sustain that. I'm also looking forward to our campus completing our next 5-year strategic plan. We've done a lot of good work on that, have a heavy workload coming up this Friday, deciding on our goals and our opportunities for the next 5 years. And I think this will give whoever replaces me a good plan that's been well thought out, that the campus has bought into, and will still allow some flexibility, but will kind of give some guardrails going forward. So I think that's very important. So that is definitely high on my to-do list.
Outstanding. We wish you the best in your final few months as president at the W, and also all the best in whatever is next for you, whatever's next on the horizon. Nora Miller, president at the W. Thanks so much. Always a pleasure to visit. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Richard. Enjoy Columbus.
Thank you. It is a beautiful morning at Columbus Lake and on the Tenn-Tom Waterway, where this weekend they are hosting a Bass Masters Elite Series tournament. Big prizes, a lot of anglers are going to be here, a lot of boats on the water. Really, really cool event that's happening here in Columbus. We'll take a time out. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Don't go anywhere. Of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Being with you on this Wednesday morning alongside Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us. If you are watching on SuperTalk TV, you see a very different backdrop this morning. That's because we are coming to you live from the Columbus Marina on the edge of Columbus Lake, which dumps into the Tenn-Tom Waterway, and that is where the Bass Masters Elite Series tournament is happening. There they go. There goes one. Today is a practice day, and one of those boats comes streaking out across the water, headed for the river. And those are going to continue. I don't know that you can see that.
I'm working on it.
And then we got a big slow boy also. You know, we got the... Sorry, I was just watching for a second. A little bit of a breeze. What a gorgeous morning.
Water is mesmerizing, isn't it?
Oh, man. It's like I forgot what I was doing just for a second. Just got to stop and watch. So the boats making their way out on this practice day. 101 boats currently entered in this Bassmasters Elite Series. And these guys, they've got a plan going in. It's not like when I go fishing with my son and he's like, well, what should we do now, Dad? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Where do you want to fish? Now they've got a plan going into this. They came and pre-fished back in the fall, back in November and December, and even into January and February. Francis told us earlier this morning that there is a 30-day moratorium on practice fishing leading up to the start of the tournament, and then you get practice days that got started this week, and then the tournament begins tomorrow as well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a free event to the public, and the weigh-ins happen at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So big crowds that will be here at Columbus Marina for that. Today's example of it's all just a game. And, man, it is so easy to get jaded when you look at our government. You want to, and I'm talking about federal right now. At times you want to give the benefit of the doubt. You want to think that, well, if this guy becomes president, everything is going to change. And if we can just get this senator or congressman elected or ousted, then everything will be different. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. Our current crisis domestically, oh, yeah. There you go, Lance.
Working on it, yeah.
We're going to keep an eye on the boats coming out. Well done. Our current domestic issue is the lack of funding for DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. If you remember my interview, by the way, Markwayne Mullen confirmed yesterday as the new Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. If you remember my conversation with former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem just a few weeks ago, you know that there are a ton of entities that fall under DHS. And here's where we are in terms of funding right now. There seems to be an agreement, let's fund all of DHS except for ICE, and then we need to do some serious reforms to ICE and Border Patrol. Democrats are hell-bent on changes to the way ICE operates. They think they should have warrants before they go knocking on doors and making arrests of people who are here illegally. I don't even know what they want with Border Patrol. I don't think they know what they want other than a flood of illegals coming into the country that can perhaps help them to win elections. And so we have reached the point where Republicans have presented an offer to Democrats. They're like, hey, let's fund DHS. Kind of a big deal, the Department of Homeland Security. It's not just TSA workers. It's the Coast Guard and so many other entities. But we're talking about TSA because we have long lines at the airport, because it inconveniences us. It's inconveniencing legislators trying to get to and from their home districts to Washington, D.C. and back home again. In fact, yesterday, Delta Airlines made an announcement. You see, Delta right now has currently, or at least before yesterday, had a special service for legislators, elected officials. You get to come to the front of the line. You get to go over to this table. You get to avoid the security lines so that you can be on your merry way to do the great business for the United States of America that you do in Washington, D.C., and you do in your home districts. Delta said, not anymore. You guys cannot come up with a way to pay the TSA workers who run our airports and keep us moving somewhat on time. So, no, we are not giving you a hall pass. You are not getting to use your front-of-the-line gold card to bypass all of the mess, while all of our other customers, all of our other travelers are standing in lines that are, in some cases, as much as 4 hours long. I don't know if that got legislators' attentions or not, but it certainly was a good headline. And then there is the media role in covering flight delays. We heard Donald Trump wonder out loud over the weekend, hey, what if we sent ICE agents to airports to help with this process? And Tom Homan said, let's do it. And the immediate question is, well, what training does ICE have in terms of screening at airports, the job that TSA does? Very micro in their view of what ICE might do. And Tom Homan's like, they protect people. It's what they do. They are law enforcement. It's what they do. It'll be okay. And then on Monday morning, we saw, 14 airports across the country where ICE was deployed. And what did the media cover? They showed you long lines, and they showed you ICE agents, like within the first hour of arriving at airports, just kind of walking around. See, it's a waste. What are they doing? They're just walking laps in the terminal. They're not doing anything. And then we found something out. The queue, the line at Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport that was almost 4 hours, within just a few hours, was shortened to less than 40-minute wait times. And those people who were holding microphones for CNN and NBC and ABC had to do live reports and go, well, the line was to where I am now, but now magically, miraculously, the lines have gone down. We're not sure exactly why, but some of the bottleneck seems to be easing up. Well, but ICE couldn't help. ICE wasn't running the X-ray machines. They weren't scanning IDs. If you think about the last time you were at an airport, TSA agents are in more places than just at the bag screening checkpoint where you go through security. And so with a thinned-out TSA staff, I think Houston and New Orleans have had the highest occurrences of people calling out, saying, I'm not coming to work because you're not paying me, which, by the way, is a fairly understandable position. Well, you have a smaller number of TSA agents that are showing up. So what do? Do you take ICE and do you plug them into places where they're not trained to do the work like the media told us was going to happen? No, you don't do that. You take ICE and they become airport security instead of TSA having to secure the airport. And then you're able to move the TSA agents who are trying spread exceptionally thin to do all of the jobs in the airport with an understaffed force. Now you can concentrate on security lines. And so crowd control, airport security, all of those things, that's what the ICE agents had handled. And outside of Houston, it appears as if the lines have kind of returned to normal in the screening process. Now, there are some places where you still can't check online how long the wait times are. There are some places where TSA pre-check and clear are not open. And to me, that might be the most maddening thing of all. And I don't say that as like a snobby traveler. Like, I don't want to travel with someone who does not have TSA pre-check. Like, we're not going to travel together if you can't go through the expedited security line, That's a you problem. You need to get that done. Here's the problem. You shut down PreCheck, you shut down Clear. Those are subscription-paid services. So we're now closing off services that people have already paid for, not just not paying the people because we can't get funding for DHS. Such a fundamental problem with the way that works. But now that Republicans have thrown out and said, hey, let's do this deal, we'll fund everything, but Democrats are going, no. We need more concessions. We need major reform on ICE, and here's why. Here's why they're saying that. Because John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, has said the quiet part out loud. Just pass everything, and then we'll fund ICE through a reconciliation bill. It's a workaround.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Shot the jukebox last night.
Welcome again to Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, all across the Magnolia State. Glad to be with you. Presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Lance is in the studio. Houston and Alex are with me here. We've got a full day of Super Talk, Mississippi from Columbus today as we get set for the B.A.S.S Masters Elite Series tournament that is happening here. And Betsy Young joins me now. She's Director of Development with the Tenn-Tom Waterway Authority. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Great to see you. Appreciate you coming by. What's the Tenn-Tom Waterway Authority?
So the Tenn-Tom Waterway Authority was developed back in the 70s, 80s when they were trying to get the waterway completed. And so they were initially formed to help get the waterway completed. And then now we are here to promote the waterway. So that's our job, is to promote economic development, promote industry, recreation on the waterway.
So you need boats to use this passageway?
We absolutely do.
Do you have to recruit them to do that?
You know, we work with industries to do that. Obviously, you know, we want them moving cargo along the waterway. But, you know, it is actually, it's a lot more economical. It's a lot more economical and a lot more environmentally friendly way to move cargo. So there are definitely benefits to the industries that do that.
I remember as a kid watching the lock system work and just being enthralled with this. Like, it's you pull up and we're going to lower the water here, we're going to raise the water level here, and it takes a while. Do you ever do that anymore? Do you ever just go and look at that and be like, this is really cool the way this works?
It is absolutely cool. We went, we had a board meeting a couple weeks ago and went and looked at a new lock that they're building in Chattanooga. And it was really interesting to see how they build that and how they do it, and just during that construction process, which is a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it's not easy. No. And not cheap either, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right, the full route of the Tenn-Tom starts where and finishes where?
So the Tenn-Tom is 234 miles. It starts in Iuka, Mississippi, Pickwick Lake, and goes down to Demopolis, Alabama. But we actually, we're the sponsor of, the non-government sponsor of the Marine Highway M65. So that actually encompasses the Tennessee River, the entire Tennessee River.
Okay.
And then the Black Warrior, the Mobile, and the Tom Bigby Rivers as well. So our area...
And those all connect, right?
They do. So the Tenn-Tom connects the Tennessee River to those other river systems. So it connects you from Paducah, Kentucky, all the way down to Mobile.
Okay.
So we actually promote that entire waterway system, not just this part. So and it goes up to Knoxville, Tennessee as well.
So in theory, I can get from Paducah or Knoxville to the Gulf of America or Mexico, depending on how you feel.
The Gulf. Yeah.
You can make it all the way to the Gulf.
Yeah.
How often do people do that? Do you get recreational boaters who say, hey, let's make that trip?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's something called the Great Loop. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Yeah. So that it's this is something that recreational boaters do, and it goes all the way from the north, and you go around and make the loop, and the Tenn-Tom is part of that. So last year we had several, social media famous people come through here. There was one, Peter, and I can't remember, Peter Frank, who did the Great Loop backwards. So against the waterway in a canoe. Yes, so he made some records. So we had some
Okay.
record setters, but yeah, we have a lot of great loopers come through. The Columbus Marina, all of the marinas along the waterway are very important to that, and then our communities are important to that. We actually have about 1.5 million recreational visitors all along the waterway every year.
That's incredible. It's a big number. I was just thinking about being in a canoe going through the lock system.
It would be a little scary for me.
A little? Maybe a little disconcerting, but I guess he knew what he was doing. My in-laws did that, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 years ago. They had gotten a pontoon boat, and they had another couple, and they put in somewhere here around Columbus, and I think went to Nashville. Would that made sense?
Yeah, you could do that.
You can get there?
You can get there.
Yeah. What about this event this weekend? The Bass Masters Elite Series. This is not just another fishing tournament. This is the big boys and the big girls coming in, and a ton of boats and a big weekend.
Absolutely. This is a Super Bowl of fishing here. So we are very excited. The Tenn-Tom is an incredible place to fish, and we all know that around here. There are a lot of people who know that, and we're excited for that to be on a national stage this weekend.
What have you heard from either the anglers or the people with Bassmasters who put this on in terms of what they're expecting this weekend?
What I've read, when I was reading, there were some who, weren't familiar. They hadn't fished this waterway before, and I think it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
We've got the lock system, so there are 10 locks along the Tenn-Tom, and I think there's a lot of strategy with, do I take the time to go through the lock through, go somewhere different? So I think it might be a little bit different. Not as big a fish, but some definitely different fishing and great fishing here.
How much time do you have to allot at each lock, give or take? I mean, if you hit traffic just right.
Maybe 30 minutes to an hour. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty valuable fishing time as well. I guess it is. There is a lot of strategy in that.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a big weekend here in Columbus. We're coming to you from the Columbus Arena. Betsy, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Final hour, 8 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is on the way. We've got more guests coming up for you, but we will take a time out. The news is next. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. We're back after this.
Your morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I'm a revenue man on a granddad bed, headed up a holler of everything had. For my time, but I've been told to never come back from Copperhead Road.
All right, Lance, I'm throwing you a curveball. This is not Ben. This is Steve.
Yeah, I know.
He's
I just saw that. I'm going to fix that.
Steve's the general manager here at Columbus Marina, and we were talking during the break, and I was like, "Hey, you got anything going right now? Can you sit with me for a minute?" We'll talk a little bit about Bassmasters, but I'm really fascinated by the Tenn-Tom loop, the Great Loop, as it is called, and we'll fill you in on that just a little bit. I want to remind you that Mornings is presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Hope you'll check them out, find out about one of their locations that is close to you, as they are all across the state of Mississippi. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey, whether you're looking to manage your personal finances, grow your business, or maybe you're dreaming of a new home. Their mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. More than just a bank, we're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. So we are in Columbus today, and Gerard's going to be here from 10 to 1. Sports Talk will be here from 3 to 6 this afternoon as well, getting you set for the Bassmasters Elite Series event. This is a huge angler-driven fishing tournament. You know about Bassmasters. They've been around for a long time. And, Steve, I know you're excited to have this crew in town. What a turnout it's going to be. Over 100 boats that are going to be here.
Yeah, so for the Elite Series, they typically have 101 boats that will be participating, and it's be pretty cool. So for the first 2 days, they'll have 101 boats fishing. That'll be on Thursday and Friday. They will let down to the top 50 on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so the to make the cut on Saturday, you got to be in the top 50, and then on Sunday it's the top 10. So it's it's going to be a lot of excitement.
A lot of similarities to golf in that there's a cut. So you got to get inside the cut line. to get to the weekend, but then a second cut. So only 10 boats will go out on Sunday.
Correct. And each one of those 10 boats will have a cameraman on it as well, as I understand it. And much of them, if not all of them, will have somebody on the boats on Saturday as well. So I know they'll be broadcasting live on Fox, I believe, at one point.
Okay.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
For people that have not watched one of these tournaments before, obviously you don't have the ability to watch every boat for the entire time because they're dispersing. You were telling me earlier about a 300-mile stretch of the Tenn-Tom that they are eligible to fish.
Correct. As I understand it, they've got all the way down to the Coffeyville Lock, which is a little over 200 miles south of here.
Okay.
And then they can fish up. And don't hold me to this. If you're an angler, I'm not the gospel. Talk to the tournament directors. But I believe they can fish up to Bay Springs Lake as well. So that's about a 300-mile stretch there that they can go to.
So how does the clock work in terms of that? So we were talking about the locks. I mean, you've got to factor in the time that it takes to go through each lock system. I mean, if they were to go 200 miles south, is there enough time to be able to do that and actually fish?
There's actually, obviously, there's some risk involved. I mean, so to take the chance, if you think the fish are there and you can go get the bite there, you'll take the chance to run, 150 miles to go catch a big fish to win the tournament. But every time you go through the lock, you run the risk of not being able to get back in time. Keep in mind that the Tenn-Tom Waterway is a commercial navigation, so they're the kings of the river. The Corps was very kind and allows several locks, specific times on the locks here for the anglers to go through.
Okay.
But if you run a long way and you come back and you happen to get behind a tow and you have to wait an hour for him to go through and you can go through, and that makes you miss the weigh-in, you just had luck.
And so if the weigh-in is at 4 o'clock every afternoon, is there a hard cutoff time where you have to be past a certain point or a line or tied off by X time or you're disqualified?
Most of the tournaments that happen here, and I believe Bassmaster's the same way, we've got 2 little points of land right here at the entrance to the marina, and usually that's the cutoff point. So you'll have to be there at a specific time. So they don't all leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. They'll go out in flights. So they'll have 10 or 15 go now, and then a few minutes later a couple more will go. So they'll kind of string out one at a time. So you may leave at 7:15, and you'd be due back here by 3:15.
Gotcha. Obviously, the weigh-in is kind of the big event each day. But for the people that might be early risers, what's it like to see the launch in the morning? Is that worth the trip out?
It very much is. Very much is. I know that Frances Glenn with the CVB, she'll be out here most mornings, as I will, of course. And a lot of times we'd like to take some video and put it on Facebook or post it online. But it's the way Bassmaster does it. They'll have their folks down on our fuel dock. They'll have speakers out. They'll be playing music. And they'll be, getting the anglers pumped up, and we're behind the scenes. We're getting pumped up as well. And then, they'll play the national anthem. Everybody gets together, and then the boats start stringing out. It's something to see, especially if you come in the morning. There's a little bit of fog. It looks really cool.
There you go. Bring your coffee, and great way to start the day. At least one of the days this weekend. So Steve's the general manager here at Columbus Marina, and we were talking about the majority of the traffic that you get through here. Obviously, people fish, people use it recreationally. Got a lot of local folks that have boats that they store here and have for their use. But the people who are making the Great Loop.
Yeah.
All right, so walk me through this. You were telling me that a lot of the people are chasing 75 to 80 or chasing 80-degree weather and trying to time it. So starting in the Gulf, looping around the southern tip of Florida, working up the eastern seaboard, hanging a left, and then getting into the river system, Mississippi down to the Tennessee, and ultimately the Tenn-Tom?
You're skipping the Great Lakes. They're going through the Great Lakes as well, yeah.
Which are really like oceans.
Yes, they are. They're huge. There's a lot of times that you'll be out on the – I've never been on the Great Lakes on a boat myself, but there's a lot of times they'll talk about it's like being in a hurricane when a bad storm comes through there.
Yeah.
But so one of the nice things about the loop is no matter where you live, you can pick it up because it's a big circle.
Okay.
So some will start on the East Coast, some will start on the inland rivers. A lot of them will start in Florida. And like we said, they're chasing 80, so they're going up the East Coast in the spring when the weather's warm. They're going through the Great Lakes in the summer when the weather's warm. They all come down through a couple of them, maybe 5% of the boats will go down the Mississippi, but that's really a commercial stretch. It's there's not a lot of smaller marinas, fuel stops, that sort of thing. It's much easier for them to come down the Tennessee and the Tenn-Tom Waterway.
That's when you get to the southern part of the Mississippi.
Correct.
So we're talking Tennessee-Kentucky line south to New Orleans.
Yep, that's it.
That's not the stretch that you want to be in a recreational boat on the Mississippi.
Correct. So when they're coming through the bottom part of Kentucky and Tennessee down to us, they're almost all on the Tennessee River and the Tenn-Tom Waterway. And again, this commercial river, there's a lot of tows, but we're very happy to have them come through here.
Oh, and we got a barge coming through behind us.
Yeah, that's one of the barges for the Corps of Engineers. I'm not sure where they're going. They're probably going to pick up some equipment to repair some of the locks and dams.
Very good. Very cool.
Yeah. She doesn't come this way very often.
I got you. Well, and encountering the fishing boats that are headed out as well. So what kind of boats are we, for people that are making the loop? I'm sure it varies, but generally speaking, cabin cruiser type boats?
Yeah, most of them are going to be cabin cruisers, a lot of trawlers, a lot of main ships and Grand Banks and things like that. What they're looking for something that's economical. So
Okay.
they'll have diesel engines, they'll sip fuel. I like to tell folks that most of these boats are going between 8 and 10 miles an hour, so you're seeing the country from 8 miles an hour.
Wow.
It's the journey, not the destination.
And this is not something that you can do in a weekend?
No. So there are some folks that try to speed run it. They can do it in a couple of weeks, but that's not the point of doing the loop. The big draw for folks doing a loop is you get to see a part of the country that you normally don't see. That's a lot of smaller towns. It's a lot of little out-of-the-way places. You go and see some things you've never seen before. For instance, about halfway between here and the Gulf of Mexico, somebody has taken an old phone booth and stuck it on the side of the river. And anybody that goes by, they'd love to take a picture of that thing.
Just stop and take a picture.
Yeah, it's just cool. You don't expect to see a phone booth on the side of the river in the middle of nowhere.
What's the strangest boat that you see come through? Not the canoe. I mean, we talked about Peter Frank and coming through in his canoe.
You see a lot of folks, not a lot, but once or twice a year you'll see somebody come through on a homemade boat. I once saw a guy that had an old pontoon boat, and he had kind of decked it and extended it with a bunch of old pallets, and he had 3 goats on front of it. And he wanted to pull up and said, "Hey, can I let my goats graze on your property?" And I said, "No. We don't allow livestock at the marina." Some strange people on the river, let me tell you.
Why did he bring goats? Like they were pets?
I didn't want to ask.
Okay.
I did not want to
know.
know.
That is
you
curiosity.
Start getting into a conversation with somebody and you don't want to know the answer.
Yeah, that's good. Do you ever see speedboats come through?
Yes. So we don't get a lot of the big cigarette boats, the power boats that come through because there's not really good boating here for them. Most of what we do here is going to be pontoon boats, ski boats, fishing boats, that sort of thing. But on occasion we do see some what we call go-fast boats as they're passing through.
Yeah.
But a lot of those they'll put on trailers and take them.
Have you made the Great Loop?
I have not. I would like to at some point, but
a retirement plan perhaps one day?
Perhaps. Yeah.
It really is incredible. It's going to be a great weekend here, and I appreciate you stopping in.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks
very
y'all
cool.
for being here. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is cool. And, hey, if you need a T-shirt or a life jacket or a bottle of motor oil or a 12-pack of beer, Steve's got you covered at Columbus Marina. Thanks for being with us this morning. We've got plenty of time left with you. We're going to continue visiting with some of the local officials and talking more about the Bassmasters Elite Series event that's happening here in Columbus on the Tenn-Tom this weekend. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
Working too fast. I don't do windows, so honey, don't ask. But I'm pretty good at drinking beer. Go get it. Well, maybe I'm not known for doing a lot. But I do my best work when the weather's hot. I'm pretty good at drinking beer.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mama's gonna wash all away. She thinks mercy is overrated.
Lance, I kept talking to Steve during the break, and he said that there was a guy a year or two ago that did the Great Loop in 11 days, 5,600 miles, you said? Roughly 5,600 miles in a John boat.
In a John boat.
Said he had 13 gas cans that were, inline, looped together, put a brand new Tohatsu motor on it and went 5,600 miles in a John boat, and that includes about a 12-hour run in the Gulf from Carabel, Florida, down to the St. Pete area.
He didn't have like that Flex Seal screen door glued to the bottom of the boat, did he?
I don't think he did that. All right, let's jump in with Ben Ashby. He's the operations manager with B.A.S.S. They are the organization that runs Bassmasters. Ben, good to see you this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good seeing you. Thank you.
What an event this weekend! A little bit different than some of your tournaments. It's not open water lake fishing; it's river fishing. How unique is this to Bassmasters?
It's very unique. We try to put them on different bodies of water to kind of test their skills, right? So they'll have deep lakes and fast rivers and coastal lakes and stuff like that. So this one is definitely a lot different than some of the ones that we do normally.
What have you heard from your anglers about the challenge that exists this week and the uniqueness of this?
So they're poker players. So of course right now it's all like, woe is me, I'm not going to find any fish. The water's shallow in this spot, I'm stuck or whatever. But
yeah.
What I've learned over 20 years of doing this, once they come in that first day, they're going to have a limit and they're going to have good fish.
There's going to be a smile on some faces.
Exactly. They always find them.
So this is a little unique, whether it's some of the lakes in Texas or some of the lakes in Alabama where you've got those big bass where they're coming in at 6, 7, 8, maybe sometimes larger than that. The fish are probably going to be smaller in this particular area. But that may lead to a little more excitement with the weigh-ins, right?
That's exactly right. One of our old tournament directors, Trip Weldon, always said his favorite Bassmaster Classic was the one we had in Pittsburgh. And literally everybody was catching maybe 1-pounders or less. Yeah. And it made it so, because every fish catch mattered, right? So every one that counted mattered. And so it was a game of ounces. And so it makes it really fun. Definitely stressful on the anglers, because they know if they miss one fish, that could be the difference between making the cut or missing it. So it definitely creates a lot of intrigue and stuff like that.
All right, what are the limits? What when we get to weigh in the afternoons, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoons? How many fish and what are we dealing with?
So they can bring in their 5 largest fish.
Okay.
They do have to be alive. If they lose a fish, they have to keep that fish, and they get penalized for it. But then they get the 5 largest fish. Throughout the day, they can upgrade. So if they get one ounce, bigger than their smallest fish, they can, replenish that.
So they'll throw it back, and
then throw that back. And so then, the first 2 days, basically, 105 guys go out. We reverse the field the next day, so they kind of have equal time on the water. We bring them back in stages of 25, essentially, where we'll space them out about 20 minutes apart from each other. So that gives the guys that are in the later flights a little bit longer on the water, and then obviously
flip it the next day.
Yep, exactly. So then after 2 days, it's basically your best 10 fish, up to 10 fish, and then we make a cut to the top 50.
Gotcha.
And then Sunday's top 10.
I feel like there are a lot of parallels to a golf tournament with the way that a Bassmasters tournament works. One of the things that you have on the PGA Tour, you have guys that are friends, you have guys that don't like each other, and so you get to kind of see some of those relationships, and you have rivalries that build as well. I'm assuming that is a similarity as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of these guys will actually room together, and they kind of get their own little traveling party. They're able to get information from the competitors, but not from other folks and stuff. So those guys, that house will kind of, share, try this bait on this, area or something like that. So you get a lot of that. And also, it's in a lot of sports, technology is kind of playing a factor here.
Yeah.
So the older guys are like, this is how we used to do it. And so the younger guys are like, well, this is, the way we grew up doing it and stuff like that. So it definitely creates, and they're all, playing for each other's money. So
sure.
That creates a lot of drama and stuff like that.
In terms of technology and equipment allowed, what are they allowed to have on the boat? What is prohibited?
So we did create some rules this year for forward-facing sonar. It's definitely a game changer in the fishing world, and I'm sure a lot of our folks have heard about that. So half of our events, we basically flipped a coin. So this one and the Arkansas River next week. We flipped a coin to see which one is forward-facing sonar. This one's not forward-facing sonar.
Okay.
They're still able to have, the regular graphs and stuff like that, but just not the whole sonar.
Where you can actually see the fish, almost
right,
like it's a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching.
So you still get a portion of that, but so that will not be a factor in this, which makes it interesting because you hear the guys talk about it and
do you find skill level then takes precedent, or is it luck?
It is skill. It is skill. And we've seen it. It's interesting because, last year every tournament had forward-facing sonar, and you kind of started to see the same guys kind of win that. And then when we did this, a lot of people assumed, those guys won't be able to catch them at all, right?
Yeah.
But the coolest thing about our sport is we've really seen a growth in the youth movement. So a lot of the kids and stuff are coming up. They're, in high school. They're going on tournaments, and they're, going across the country to fish tournaments and stuff. So they're getting those skills earlier than we ever have in the past. So.
I don't have notes sitting here, so you weren't able to steal that off my notes. But that's where I wanted to go next, because if we're using the parallel with golf, you certainly have seen a youth movement. College golf is bigger than it has ever been. You're seeing younger guys on the PGA Tour come, not be intimidated, and able to win. That's
right.
We've seen junior high and high school fishing programs that have developed, college fishing programs that have developed. Is that playing out?
That absolutely is playing out, and we're trying to take best advantage of it because it's amazing how fast these kids have integrated themselves into the Elite Series.
Yeah.
And it's because of those programs, the high schools, and it's a state recognized sport in a lot of states, right? And the college movement is just exploding. We do a smaller event in the fall called the High School Combine. So we bring all these coaches that have scholarships and bring about 100 of the top school, high schoolers. And they're allowed to kind of, meet all the different coaches, talk about the schools and stuff like that to get scholarships. I mean, we're averaging over $2 million in scholarships for fishing, which is pretty cool.
Prize money this week. What are we talking about?
So it's $100,000 to the winner. So,
okay.
Yep. The top 50 all will get.
Is that standard across all your tournaments?
Yep, exactly. So regular season, $100,000 to the winner. So
who's the best ever?
It's a good question. I would probably say Rick Clunn. There's probably people that would say Kevin Van Dam. Rick Clunn was actually just fishing with us last year into his 70s and just one of the all-time greats. He was kind of one of the first guys to kind of get the mental side of fishing,
right?
And just kind of work it that way, right?
You didn't say Bill Dance.
He is a great ambassador for the sport.
Well, and it's funny
one of the best ever.
That's the name that everybody knows.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's a great marketer. I mean, he's a great fisherman. And to be honest, I'd probably say that, and it's all subjective, right? But I mean, he might be a better fisherman than those guys, but he didn't compete as long.
Sure.
Because he found other avenues, which made sense for him, right?
There were revenue-producing avenues.
Wildly successful.
No question about that.
Yeah, they weren't making $100,000 back then when he was fishing.
All right, so I don't want to belabor the comparison to golf and Bassmasters, but one of the issues that the PGA Tour had was content creation. They didn't allow it. And some of the guys that left went to live because Bryson DeChambeau, an example, with what he's been able to do with YouTube. Is content creation for YouTube channels allowed with the fishermen, the anglers that are fishing on Bassmasters?
It is. So a lot of these guys will have their personal photographers and videographers come with them. They'll get somebody in a boat to kind of take them around and follow them. We do kind of put some limits on there because of, our shows are shown on Fox Sports and Fox this week, actually. So the on-the-water footage, we kind of have to control that, basically, with our Fox contract. But they're able to do, photography. If we don't have cameras on them, they're able to kind of do that stuff. We're trying to assist.
Are they able to live stream?
So we do. They are not able to live stream this year. We do some live streaming with them in conjunction with them. If they want to have their equipment and we can have access to that, we can do that. But they don't. They can't live stream it.
At the end of the year, the big champion of the playoff series, who has had a good season, is going to end up winning how much money cumulative for the year?
I guess a lot of it depends how you do, how many wins you get. We do pay out $125,000 for the top prize on top of all the bonus money they've made. Those guys, typically they're landing around the top 10, so they're probably making another couple $100,000.
Somebody can clear $1 million in a year?
It has happened, yeah.
It's a great way to make a living. Yeah. Ben, I appreciate it. All the best for a wonderful event. Looks like the weather's going to cooperate, going to be outstanding.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks so much. Ben Ashby, Operations Manager with B.A.S.S. They run the Bassmasters Elite Series. That's happening in Columbus on the Tenn-Tom this weekend. We're back with you right after this.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good conversation just a moment ago with Ben Ashby from B.A.S.S. That is the organization that runs the Bassmasters Elite Series. We are in Columbus, Mississippi this morning, coming to you from the lovely Columbus Marina. We got Columbus Lake in the background. It spills right into the Tenn-Tom and a huge fishing event. We're also hitting on some of the things that are happening in Columbus and Lowndes County as we go through the morning, and I'm happy to be joined now by Ginger Tedder, who is Executive Director of the Mississippi School of Math and Science, MSMS, and Dr. Thomas Easterling, who is Director of Academics there as well. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Richard. Happy to be here.
I appreciate your time, and let's just kind of jump in and talk a little bit about MSMS. I feel like most people are at least somewhat familiar with MSMS and its history as an elite academic institution in Mississippi for high school students. So, Ginger, let's start with you. Kind of the mission of MSMS is as we exist in 2026.
Absolutely. MSMS was created in 1987 by the Mississippi Legislature.
Okay.
And we are under the State Board of Education and Mississippi Department of Education. That's our support system. Our mission was 11th and 12th grade gifted students, specifically STEM. Although we do absolutely serve the humanities and the arts, we believe in the whole child at MSMS. So we are a residential school, which is very unique.
Right.
And I'm a graduate, class of 1992 from MSMS. So it's home to us, and we have 4 core ideals: creativity, scholarship, service, and community. And we really lean into the community part. We are a very special and strong community, and we serve the entire state of Mississippi. Our students are from all across Mississippi, and they are amazing young people, and would give anyone the understanding that Mississippi's future is bright when you work with our students.
Dr. Easterling, I think it's fair to say that MSMS is not for everyone. I think it takes probably a unique high school student to say, hey, I'm ready to leave mom and dad or whatever my home situation is a little earlier than most would. And I think for moms and dads, it's a little hard maybe to let go of a young one a couple of years before they would have earlier. So what about that uniqueness?
You're right that it is a difficult transition for some, but I'd like everyone to know that we have a great support system in place. All of our faculty are holders of at least a master's degree, if not a PhD. And while that sounds great academically, they're also great humans. They work with our students to make sure that as they come away from home for the first time and learn how to study and learn how to manage their own time, they have some guidelines in place so that they're not just sort of thrown to the wolves as soon as the minivan rolls off campus and the kids go to classes. We make sure that they acquire some study skills, that they have evening tutorials, which our faculty come back one night a week to teach students. We have a whole lot of other support systems that are student-oriented as well. There's a standardized test club, for instance. There's our market, right?
Absolutely.
Those kinds of kids really want to excel at everything that they do, particularly academically. We also have a lot of things for kids to do that are not academic so that they can get out of their heads. Last year, for instance, we had one student who won a state championship in wrestling. Our tennis team won the state championship. This year, we have a state championship in robotics, and those kids will be going to St. Louis soon to compete at an international level. We send kids to ISIF every year, drones competitions. So we're not just in the classroom. We take what we do in the classroom and teach kids how to apply what they're learning in the world around them.
There are a couple of conversations that are happening at the state level. One of those is workforce development, and sometimes that has a very blue collar connotation to it. But it's about equipping students, whether it's at the high school level or the college level, to be part of the workforce in Mississippi and the opportunities that exist there. In terms of equipping your students for the next stage, possibly in Mississippi, what does that look like on campus?
Commander Desmond Walker this year was the most recognized commander of a ship in the Navy, and he is an MSMS graduate who described MSMS as a leadership incubator. When our kids come, they're interested in academic things, but what we give them along the way is a set of skills that they can use to become leaders in their fields. They know how to communicate effectively, they know how to master content, and they learn how to do the kinds of things that make them important to their communities, wherever their communities are.
And I would say our residential program, that it lends itself very much to being successful in the workforce. You learn those executive functioning skills, and you man your own schedule, and you organize yourself. And those are all survival skills at MSMS. You learn those fundamentals. So going into college, so combined with that leadership and combined with the community emphasis at MSMS and the service emphasis at MSMS, we are generating the next leaders of Mississippi, and they're going to be game changers in the world. So they're learning those skills.
I'm making an assumption that you have students who have the opportunity to attend colleges and universities all over the country, maybe all over the world, if they want to do that. I guess the second part of that conversation that I was going to mention a second ago is brain drain, and that's people who are going through high school, maybe going to college in the state of the Mississippi, and then are going other places. You obviously have elite academic students that are there. As a school that is supported by the state of Mississippi, is there an emphasis or at least a push to, hey, make sure you're exploring the opportunities that exist here?
Absolutely. Over half of our students do stay in-state for college.
Really?
And we're improving and strengthening relationships we have with colleges in Mississippi so that they can scholarship our students more aggressively and do what we can to stem brain drain. We know that it is an issue, and we think that MSMS plays a pivotal role in keeping some of our best and brightest students in the state. The University of Southern Mississippi a few years ago started a scholarship program where all of our graduates who wish to go to USM are given full tuition. Mississippi University for Women has done the same thing recently, and when we look at the numbers, we can see that that kind of investment pays off. Our students really want to be recognized and appreciated. It is a very human impulse. And when scholarship money goes up, interest in those universities goes up too.
Yeah, that makes...
In addition to that, the ones that go out of state are great ambassadors for the state of Mississippi.
Sure.
We instill a love of our state, and we're doing more as a school to make sure they understand the opportunities that are here for them. But like Desmond Walker is a great case in point. He, in every speech he ever gives, he gives credit back to Mississippi and acknowledges his experience at MSMS. So they're taking Mississippi with them, and they're great ambassadors for our state, and we need those nationally or internationally, as the case may be.
Sure. Forgive me if this is wading off into the political waters, but there's been discussion about an affiliation with Mississippi State. Some of that's geographical in nature, but I would think being affiliated with a college campus certainly has positives that go in as well. Where is that conversation?
Well, the conversation is currently to bed at the moment. We try to maintain our goal of our current mission, which are the students we have on campus. We are always thinking about the future, and MSMS has a true desire to grow. And we've got great advocates on all the levels. The legislature, they are just amazingly supportive, and MDE and the state board. Our goal is to grow. And honestly, we could not have fulfilled our mission up to this point without Mississippi State or Mississippi University for Women.
Yeah.
MUW took a chance on us. It was home when I was a student at MSMS, and we appreciate all of that. But the legislature is truly the entity who gives us our mission and where we are going.
Sure.
And so we're waiting for that mission. If they choose to give it to us, we will. We will excel at it. We will absolutely hit the mark. But right now we are. The conversation is not active.
Okay.
But if it comes back up, we'll absolutely have have that conversation with our leadership.
Yeah.
And I think it is worth noting that when other states invest in schools like ours, interest in those schools goes up, as does the retention in-state of scholars to college. About 2 years ago, the Alabama School for Science and Mathematics in Mobile finished a huge research facility, and it's not surprising that the year afterwards they had their highest ever enrollment. So an investment in places like this pays off immediately for the students. And I think in the long term, you can't find a better investment than putting money into STEM high schools like ours, particularly residential ones where students learn the kinds of leadership and community values that we stress as part of our curriculum.
There's been a very heated debate this year in the legislature about school choice, and I'm curious how MSMS fits into that conversation.
We're the original school of choice.
We are public school. We are fully funded by appropriations from the legislature. So I do feel like we have to lean into that understanding that we are a school of choice, but we're just on the public side of that. And we're very specific. There are two other state schools, the Mississippi School of the Arts and the Mississippi Schools of the Deaf and Blind. We all are, our board is the State Board of Education, these three schools. So, we can't get away from that conversation.
Yeah. Certainly educational opportunities exist in Mississippi and MS. If there's somebody that's interested in either learning more about the school or thinks that might be the right path for them, what's the best way to go about that?
Well, you can call the school or at Mississippi School for Math and Science, 662-329-7670.
I'm going to direct somebody to a website because remembering phone numbers is hard. There you go. MSMS.org. That's easier than a phone number.
That's it. Yep. All the ways.
Thanks to both of you, Dr. Thomas Easterling and Ginger Tedder with the Mississippi School of Math and Science. Appreciate your time this morning.
It's
our pleasure. Thank you.
Wish you all the best, and certainly your students all the best as well. We're going to wrap things up with you coming up next as we finish up live from Columbus Marina. Bassmasters Elite Series happening this weekend. We're back right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic
Mississippi in the know. One morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I was a dam builder across the river deep and wide.
A fast 3 hours with you on this Wednesday morning, the 25th of March, as we broadcast live from Columbus. Reminder, we will be here all day long. Gerard comes along at 10 o'clock this morning, middays with Gerard Gibbert from 10 until 1. And then Hey Dad and Borky will be in this afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi from 3 to 6, as we continue to talk about the Bassmasters Elite Series event happening on the Tenn-Tom Waterway. We're at Columbus Marina this morning. Appreciate all of the guests that have stopped by. And we're wrapping things up with Trip Hairston, who is a supervisor here in Lowndes County and is the president of the Board of Supervisors. Actually bumped into Trip last night, and we were talking. I was like, you have a full-time job too, right? And he's like, maybe there are two full-time jobs when you're president of the board as well. Thanks for coming by.
That is correct. It's two full-time jobs. So glad to be here today. Really excited about this tournament. Very excited all the things that the tourism is doing and things that are being brought in. We have heads in beds here in Columbus over the weekend. That's always a good thing. The marina has rolled out the red carpet, and we're very thankful for Steve and the people here who've done that. Just a great day in the Golden Triangle.
And for those that maybe are tuning in, this is a big deal in the professional fishing world. This there was a Bassmasters Open tournament a year ago.
Correct.
But this is a tour event.
That's right.
If you will. And some of the best fishermen in the world going to be here this weekend.
Well,
anglers. Sorry, some of the best anglers in the world will
right.
be here.
So, pun intended, we got our feet wet last year.
That's right.
And we have tournaments here and there for sure, but we got our feet wet with the Bassmasters last year again, and it went so well that we got a call, said we want y'all to do one of the big ones, and so we said absolutely, no doubt, didn't hesitate. So here we are today. It's going to be a great weekend, and thankful again for everything that's done here with Francis and Sharon there at the tourism and all what they do has been excellent.
Francis Glenn, we visited with back during the 6 o'clock hour, and we talked about economic impact. And when you invest in an event like this, and it is an investment, then you're kind of curious what that return on investment is going to look like. She said maybe in the neighborhood of $1 million in terms of local economic impact.
Yeah, and, Board of Supervisors, we do a lot with economic development, right?
Sure.
And we also have to think about economic impact when you have recreational facilities, of course, with soccer tournaments, with baseball facilities, with baseball tournaments, any of those type things that put people here for the weekend or several days at a time. They use your restaurants, they pay sales tax, they fill up the cars, all of that thing. And those things add up over time, and of course that's why people do those, and that's why you have sponsors so much with the governments there that do that.
Trip, maybe an offshoot from this event in particular, there is a lot of conversation across the state about regional partnerships, and I don't know that anybody knows better about how that can look when it's successful than you and the board here with the Golden Triangle Development Link and all of the industry that's made its way. When you hear about other pockets of the state who are working toward kind of teaming up on these, what is your reaction?
I strongly encourage other people to team up and work together when it comes to economic development. Obviously, we've had a large success here. With economic development. Part of that is because you had the various counties coming together and they're all willing to invest. As you know, I was there. We talked with the Cinco Mega Site announcement with that. That is an investment that the Lowndes County Board of Supervisors put in. Starkville has their own industrial park, and that was an investment they put in there. Clay County, same thing. You have to be willing to put in infrastructure and spend the money to attract businesses that way. Also, I can't go without saying the governor has been very, very generous to this area. We're about to put a 1 million-gallon water tank and a force main out at the Cinco Mega Site. And that comes with a lot of the ARC grant money. I know this is a lot more boring than fishing tournaments.
No,
right?
I understand.
But the ARC money, MDA is investing in that, and the Board of Supervisors for Lowndes County has put in $25 million to develop that industrial park. A lot of people around the state say, yeah, we have an industrial park, and you really go digging into it, maybe literally, and they really only have a hayfield.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have the infrastructure, it doesn't have power scoping, and TVA is another big partner for us as well. So those type things, you have to have an investment from the local community to build an industrial park, and we've done that, and we have great success. Matter of fact, at 10 o'clock, I've got a meeting with our new link director, Ian, and it'll be our first face-to-face meeting, and he's asked that we meet once every 2 weeks, he and I, face-to-face, and I'm sure he's doing that with other collaborative people in the link. So that's a good thing, and I would strongly encourage anybody in a regional area, take a regional approach.
In 20 seconds, what role does the Tenn-Tom play in the success of Link?
Well, of course, with all the barging, when you have everything with the industry, it is a game changer when it comes to transportation and those type things. Also, tourism-wise, too, and not necessarily with the link, but the loopers that come through is a big deal from tourism. And they tour a lot of our homes, and they get to see the place, and they spend money here in town. And so we're very grateful for the Tenn-Tom Waterway.
We learned about the Great Loop and the loopers earlier this morning. Steve helped us with that trip.
Now,
great to see
politicians, they sometimes call us loopy, but
not the same thing.
They're not the same thing as the loopers. So, good stuff.
Appreciate you being with us this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget, Gerard comes along at 10. Sports Talk Mississippi at 3 this afternoon, all from Columbus Marina.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.